When people talk about the 7th generation of consoles, there's usually a set range of answers when you talk about the best games. People will say God of War, Halo, Call of Duty, The Last of Us. I mean, I would say Grand Theft Auto 5, but does that even really count? But when it came to fighting games, there's also a variation of great games in that time period. We had the Street Fighter games, Tekken, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Now I already know what you're thinking, there's an obvious one I haven't said yet. You could most definitely put Mortal Kombat 9 on this list, which was released in 2011 and developed by NetherRealm Studios. And many people see this as the defining Mortal Kombat game of this generation, being naive to thinking that it was the only Mortal Kombat game that released before MK10 on the 8th generation of consoles. But they tend to not mention that before this game came a spin-off title for the franchise in 2008. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. A game that seems to be forgotten by time. Now it may not seem as monumental seeing these two universes collide since, there's been Mortal Kombat characters that have appeared in the latest Injustice games. But back then, this was huge. Imagine hearing about these two universes colliding together for the first time. The bloodbath nightmare world of Mortal Kombat and the superhero mixed with villainous world of the DC universe. We don't see many fighting games like this anymore, with two separate universes colliding in one game. The latest one that I can think of being Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Infinite, which was extremely underwhelming. Every fucking character is locked behind a paywall, like what? However, this game was revolutionary during its time, but you don't see it getting praised that much by the masses. And why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna blow that dust off that old Xbox 360 and take a trip into the past of 2008 and do a deep dive into Mortal Kombat versus the DC Universe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2008. It's the year of Grand Theft Auto 4's releasing. 1 year into the release of Windows Vista. Halo 3 is at its all-time high. And your boy is 4 years old as of right now, so how I'm able to speak to you is somewhat of a mystery. But this year also sees the release of Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, published and developed by Midway Games. Well, at least before they filed for bankruptcy in 2009 and had most of their titles being purchased by Warner Bros. Ouch. The game is a story about the two universes colliding after Darkseid, the main villain in DC Universe, was defeated around the same time that Shao Kahn, the main villain of Mortal Kombat, was defeated, and somehow they both morphed into a single being known as Dark Khan on some Power Rangers type shit. And their syncage caused some random heroes and villains of both universes to become filled with rage and fight anyone in their path, even if the characters were friends beforehand. This situation sets up the two worlds to collide indefinitely in combat, to which by the end of the story they must somehow find a way to defeat Dark Khan, the pioneer of all of this rage. So the story is okay, sure, but as long as I get to use Liu Kang the bicycle kick Captain Marvel for that trash 2019 Shazam movie, I knew I'd enjoy this game. To represent both universes, you got a selection of 10 characters on each side, plus the two unlockables in the game being Shao Kahn and Darkseid. So even for 2008, 17 characters was pretty lackluster, and you could tell either the budget or the passion for adding more characters just wasn't there. Because comparing this roster with a previous generation Mortal Kombat game, there's no way. Look at all these characters. Look! There's so many good characters that they had the opportunity to use on both sides, but of course, Midway Games dropped the ball. I'm starting to wonder why they went bankrupt. One thing that is cool about the story mode is that you can choose which perspective you want to play it from. If you like DC better, you can play it from only a DC character's perspective. Or if you like the MK better, you can play it from that perspective. Achievement hunters though aren't gonna have a good time because you're gonna have to play the story twice just to get both of the achievements on each side, so that's kinda whack. But I'd say for the time, the story was okay. They didn't have the writers of the Batman Arkham City games yet, or anything of that nature, so it kind of felt corny, like the 1999 Mortal Kombat movie. So yeah, it wasn't anything to brag about to your parents, but how did the game play? Like, how did it feel inside each matchup? The game had the fighting style of early Tekken games, to where instead of fighting from side to side in one perspective, you had the ability to move freely around your opponent. The game's combat was still somewhat reminiscent of the old Mortal Kombat games, to which they were more slow paced, at least compared to the modern day fighting games. And I enjoy this slower paced style of combat, compared to like MK11 because, well, I have a jet lag of hand-to-eye coordination and I can't keep up with these new fast combos. But in my opinion, what stood out in this game, as far as combat, was its amazing quick time events. You had the ability to do something called Test Your Might, to which you could smash the opponent through buildings as you smash every button on your controller. There was also the free fall, where you could attack while dropping down on a lower level of the map. It was little gameplay mechanics like this that made each fight feel more cinematic and intrusive. And each character had their own set of moves that they used in these quick time events, which was neat. However, the one game mechanic that I didn't like about the game was the finishing move that you did after you defeated your opponent. Now, I'm sure you all know that in Mortal Kombat games, when you defeat your opponent, you get to do what is called a fatality, a gory and bloody move that allows you to fatally finish your opponent. But Batman's in this game, and he doesn't kill his opponents. So what did the DC universe get? Heroic brutalities. There is no such thing as a heroic brutality, but I'm gonna let that slide because, well, I can't think of a better name myself. But both finishing moves for each character side was just downright boring in this game because, well, they mostly had to keep this T rating for the title. Like, imagine you're having the sweatiest online match of your life and you somehow manage to win, and now you're ready to deliver the finishing blow. And this happens. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hold that L. Hold that fat L, man. Hold on. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this face. Watch this face. Watch this. Man, shut up. And that was basically the experience that you got out of the game. There was also an arcade mode, which allowed you to face 10 opponents, each increasing in difficulty over time. But other than that, that was it. There wasn't any downloadable content for the game either. So it wasn't the most lengthy experience, but there was still fun that could have been had with this game. But I think the developers behind it shouldn't have been the ones to be in control of the game. Like I said, this was only 1 year before Midway Games went bankrupt, so their studios obviously didn't have what it took to make this game as best as it could have been. So I think that's ultimately why it didn't reach great heights like other fighting games, because, well, it never reached its true potential. There was so much more that could have been added to this game to make it more worthwhile playing. But I think that this is the perfect game to make a sequel to. You know, a lot of game studios nowadays like to remaster and, you know, redo old games. I think this is the perfect game that should get a redo. Imagine a Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe game using modern technology. That would be amazing. But until we see that happen in the future, we only have this game of the past to remember the first time these two universes collided. And that is Mortal Kombat versus the DC Universe. What do you guys think about this game? Did you enjoy it? You know, did you play it? If you haven't, you know, would you be interested in playing it? You know, leave your opinions in the comments. You know, I'd love to hear what you guys got to say. But with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next one.